Render fidelity is an enum that determines the level of details of meshes and solid model parts. It is set to automatic as default, which means Roblox changes the details based on the distance of the camera of the player. Roblox sets meshes and solid model parts to automatic, which makes it change the render fidelity quality depending on the distance of the camera from the object. There are 3 different render fidelity modes, which are automatic, precise, and performance. Automatic changes the level of details dynamically by the distance of the camera from the object. As for performance, it pushes rendering to get the best performance while trying to maintain the quality if possible. But it discards appearance if that's necessary to reach performance. Simple means performance will be excellent and visuals will be negatively affected. We have an example here with the piggy bank. I take the models that make up the piggy bank and I set it to automatic. Comes a certain problem that we have. For example, this piggy bank, I have the render fidelity set to precise, because when I set it to automatic, I get this problem. Even when I load into the game, I get the same problem with the model not being loaded well. Precise shows how the model exactly looks and renders it in the best quality possible, as you can see here. While automatic makes it look like this, and performance completely ruins the visuals of it. So for example, this bed has 3 different models into it: a blanket, a mattress, and a pillow. When you build, you choose the render fidelity based on how it looks and how you want it to look in the game. I have the blanket model set to precise because when I set it to automatic, it doesn't look the way that I want it to look. Same thing with performance. It just makes it not look good and I need the details. So when I set it to precise, it looks just fine. For the mattress, I have it set to automatic because there's no change between automatic precise. For the pillow, I have it set to precise because when I set it to automatic, it doesn't look quite right. But here's something. If I'm trying to optimize my game the best way possible, I would keep it with either performance or automatic because this can look fine for many games, but I was focusing on more quality in the scene. If you have certain models that will be repeated at a scene, it's much better to have them done in Blender and then upload the variants of it to Studio, then place them everywhere. So for example, here I made 4 different variants of beds and I made the other models. Then I imported them to Studio and I made the structures of every bed and different variants and I placed them. This is better because if this blanket has a single mesh ID, if it repeats anywhere else, Roblox knows how to instance it easily because it has the same mesh ID. Let's say if I had all of the beds, for example, imported here, this blanket will have a different mesh ID than this, than anyone, even if they are exactly the same, because Roblox does not support instancing when importing with the 3D importer. Optimizing your models is very important for the scene too, because for example, I made this pillow is 7,000 triangle, by this optimized one is 700. I could have even gone for less than 700, but I'll have to bake it and that's a whole different story. On to collision fidelity, which determines the behavior of the collision hitbox of your mesh part or the part operation instance. To see the collision hitbox of all the models in the scene, you go to the viewport options and you head to collision fidelity in physics simulation. You turn it on and it shows you collision of every model. By optimizing the collisions of your models, you save work for the devices from having to check constantly for intersections with characters, projectiles, or other models. The more complex the shape, the more calculations Roblox has to do every frame. For purely decorative models, you could disable the collisions completely, which removes them from physics entirely, which reduces the CPU load by a lot and boosts the performance. We have 4 different collision fidelity modes, which are default, hull, box, and precise decomposition. As for default, it's relatively fast, not to be highly accurate, especially for holes, doors, and cavities in general. We have this door which has holes, details, and even a door handle. If I turn on collision fidelity, you see how I optimize the model by having models which do not affect the gameplay be set to box, which saves on performance. I could also turn it fully off, but I chose to keep it on. As you can see, if you look at the door itself, I have it set to default. If I set it to precise convex decomposition, it will show much more details. The best way to optimize this model is to simply just go for the door, have it set as box, go for the handles, completely turn off the collision, go for these door hinges, turn off the collision, collisions and go to the shape and also turn off the collisions. As for hull, collision model uses the convex hull of the visual mesh. In a simple way, this means that Roblox ignores the exact details of the mesh and instead wraps it in a simple solid outer shell without the holes or concave shapes. Makes it faster but much less accurate. As for box, collision model uses a bounding box that encompasses the visual mesh. As you can see here, we have the roof, but with collision fidelity on, I have it set to box. Box is the simplest of them all. It just draws a box around the model. As for precise convex decomposition, it uses a convex hull decomposition of the visual mesh. It's the most accurate representation of the collision geometry or complex objects, with a built-in tolerance to reduce the total number of convex hulls by compromising on accuracy when justified. So for example, if I make this whole entrance to precise convex decomposition, turns to look like this, which is the most accurate representation of the collisions of the mod. When importing, you can face certain collision problems with mesh when importing them to Studio. This wall model here has holes in it for the entrance. When I imported into Studio, the collisions looked like this. For me to fix it, I just used parts to outline the area. I just turned off the collisions and I made an invisible wall that determines the collisions. Because if I have the collisions for this on, I can go through it, but if I have the collisions on, I cannot go through it. Even with precise convex decomposition, it has its problems. A simple way to optimize meshes and know how much triangles are in it is to head to Overlay, turn on Statistics, and you'll have the triangle count of a certain model. Then you go to the Modifiers tab, add a Decimate modifier, drag the ratio down until you're happy with the tri count. Let's say, for example, you want to make it 9,000. Something that you should know, though, is that Decimate ruins the topology of the model.